Please
I
like
have opinions. I have opinions. You broke me in the middle, though. I mean, you broke me pretty hard. Talk. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so episode 2 of Down the Rabbit Trail. Just to recap, that's helium over there, and I'm sulfur hexafluoride. For those of you who missed episode 1.
Yeah, that was about all you missed.
No, not true.
I'm just joking.
Not true. You missed a lot.
You need to go back and watch episode 1 to know our origin story if
Yes.
you haven't caught that yet, and why we are the way that we are,
Yes.
to a degree.
That is right. And all 50 of our viewers, very excited.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2 of them, 10 of those were my parents, probably.
Yeah, that's probably. And of course, I watched it from all of my various Google accounts, so that counts for like 5. So now, Brian, episode 2 is sponsored by
masks.
Masks. No.
Yes.
No.
Masks. So
if you want to, oh God,
if I went to the bank, no, listen.
All right, go ahead. Go. I'm listening.
All I'm saying is I was not allowed to wear a mask to a bank 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
And now, if I don't wear a mask to the bank, people look at you funny.
Yes, that is a rather ironic situation.
Right? Like, I used to work in banking, and if someone walked in wearing a mask, you would immediately call the cops. Now, if someone doesn't wear a mask and they're too close to you, call the cops. So it's kind of funny. But I will show you the mask I have been wearing out to the store, and I've gotten some funny looks. I'm not sure it's what's going on with that, but does this technically work?
Technically, yes. Technically, yes. Works just as good as anything the CDC is recommending right now. So I'll just leave it at that. I have many, many, many very strong opinions on this subject, and this is neither the time nor the place. So if you want to be Star-Lord when you go to the Walmart, you go right ahead and be Star-Lord when you go to the Walmart.
Well, it works better than some of the masks I've been seeing people try, I think. At least it covers my face. And people say, people social distance from me when I wear it.
You could probably get better social distancing if you wore a Freddy mask or a Jason mask.
That's true.
That works.
So controversial sponsor this week.
Stirring the pot,
masks.
Man. Episode 2, and we're already stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Gonna get a call from the White House or the CDC. Be like, what do you mean? You hating on our mask advice?
All I know is the information is very both sides. The one time they tell you not to wear a mask, and they tell you to wear them. And so I'm just going as Star-Lord from now on.
I like it. I risk.
Plus, it has Bluetooth, so I can play my music.
Does it really?
It does.
Seriously? Awesome. That mask has Bluetooth in it?
Yeah, if I connect it right now, it'll probably mess up the speaker.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that.
But definitely can play music through it. It's only loud enough for me to hear it, so I'm dancing around and no one knows what I'm listening to. But if it's in like a room here, it's fine. But if you're like wearing it to like a Comic-Con or a convention, no one else can hear it. Just
gotcha.
So that's kind of fun.
That's pretty cool.
I was going to ask you to pull out a mask, but I wasn't sure if it would be, what type of mask. I figured you had several laying around.
Well, I have one. I have one, and I used it the other day. I have my 3M N95, my workshop mask. I have one. This is my one. I didn't go out and buy it. I've had it forever. This is my one N95 that I use when I'm cutting wood or working with chemicals. Or the other day I had it out because I was using the leaf blower to blow out a canister vacuum filter, and I really didn't want to get that dust all in my nose and mouth.
No,
So,
definitely.
no, definitely not. Okay, so thank you, Masks. You are doing the world a service right now, whatever that service may be. But thank you.
Yes.
Job well done.
Absolutely. Thanks, Masks, for
Yeah.
sponsoring episode 2.
Yes, episode 2. All right. So, topic of the day. Where are we going to start?
So the topic is very broad, but we'll narrow it down a little bit, I think.
Okay.
Time.
Time. Yes. Yes. You alluded to that last week.
Well, you mentioned also that like this is the longest year of the year ever because of the extra leap day, right?
Yes.
Leap day.
Yes, leap day.
But I was also thinking about daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Also controversial. Is that necessary still? I don't think so. I just have to convince my kid to go to bed while it's still light outside.
Yeah. Yeah, that came up tonight. Wanted a drink of water right before bed. No, we've been over this. You can't drink a bunch of water right before bed, but it's not dark out.
Yeah, I blame the farmers from when the 1900s. When was this? I don't know when it started, but it should have ended at some point.
It definitely. I mean, it's definitely rooted in agriculture for sure.
Yeah, my question though is, daylight savings time technically time travel? You're going forward or backwards in time.
No, because you're manipulating a clock. Clocks are definitely man-made, and you're just manipulating. You're manipulating the numbers on the clock. You're not manipulating time itself. You're not messing with the space-time continuum. You are just messing with the numbers on a clock. You could make a clock go up to 120 and make it 120 o'clock, but you haven't changed time.
Yeah, but if everyone goes forward or backwards with you in the same day.
But you're not losing or gaining time. Well,
see?
No, well, you make it up, though.
You lose an hour. But then on leap day, that's what brought it up. You get it all back in one clump.
Right. Because it nets out at the end of the year. Like if all you had were a bunch of spring forwards, then yeah, you mess things up if you never fell back again.
Does that work with food? Like if I just don't eat a little bit each day, and then once a year I just gorge myself?
I don't see a problem
the
with
same
that.
Calories.
It's called Thanksgiving, isn't it?
That's true. That's very true. Now, what about, getting on an airplane on the East Coast and flying super fast through multiple time zones? You actually gained. You get to use the same 3 hours again or whatever.
Now, I do have opinions on this, and I am no Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not an astrophysicist. I am not a theoretical physicist by any stretch of the imagination. Technically, time as we perceive it on Earth is based on what? Rotation, one complete rotation of the Earth, right?
Yeah.
It's 24 hours for the Earth to spin around once, from prime meridian to prime meridian.
Yes.
So in theory, if you can manage to travel contra rotation in a faster time that it takes the Earth to spin around, which the Earth rotates it's something on the order of like 1,000 something miles an hour at the equator, I think. Is that right? That's close.
You're asking me.
If you could go 1,000 something miles an hour in the other direction, then you will perceive to have stood still in time. I think there's an actual instance of a test flight or an exhibition flight of the old Cold War era spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird, where they took off from, I don't know, Andrews Air Force Base or something like that on the East Coast, and landed the big Air Force base that's kind of sort of around Area 51, somewhere out there in the Nevada desert. I can't remember.
Comment below if you know what he's talking about.
Anyways, The SR-71 Blackbird took off from the East Coast, landed in the West Coast, and left the East Coast like shortly after breakfast, like 9 or 10 a.m., landed on the West Coast before breakfast at like 8 in the morning. So they beat the sun around the country. So even though it took them a certain amount of time to make that trip,
Right.
they landed before they took off. As far as the Earth's position relative to the sun was. So technically, yes, you can go back in time, but you will still experience time.
Right. It's not like they got 3 hours younger.
Mm-hmm.
They just got to use the same hours twice, like double dipping, right?
Right.
Sort of.
Right. Now, if you hadn't, one thing that I've pondered, this is a perfect forum for that.
Exactly.
Here I go down the rabbit trail. If you had a plane such as the Concorde or an SR-71 Blackbird, and you had an infinite supply of fuel, and you could just keep flying around the equator, faster than the Earth is spinning around, what does that do over time? Like, if you could do that, if you could be in that aircraft for a full 24 hours going backward around the Earth faster than the Earth is spinning forward, then I don't know what would happen.
Would you just be a day behind everybody? Like, it's Thursday for me. I know everyone else is Friday, but like for me, it's Thursday. Or do you would get to experience what someone already experienced? Because that's like technically going back in time, right?
Okay, so the prime meridian is, it kind of runs through the middle of England. So if you took off from England, but you're not at the equator. I'm getting to so if you took off from England and started flying the other way,
okay,
and you did that for a full 24 hours, then
would you just sort of be lapping everybody? You like show up at the same time, but it's the day before for you? Like if you're thinking about a track, people running track, right?
Oh gosh.
One person stands still, the other one runs backwards for a whole lap. They're still going to be standing next to the person who didn't run at all, which would be me.
All right, so they've spent a day in the air.
Right.
But on the ground,
the sun.
On the ground, you would have experienced 2 days.
Okay.
No.
0 days? Negative a day? Because everyone on Earth is still, you're not affecting anyone on Earth.
No. But if you take off from an airport and fly backwards contra the rotation of the Earth at a speed faster than the Earth rotates, you would outpace the sun. Okay. Oh, I think what would happen is in 24 hours, you would go more than once around the Earth. So I'm looking at this the wrong way. It's not a time thing. It's a distance traveled thing.
Yep. Kind of like the track analogy. You'd just be lapping someone who's standing
still. Right. You would go you would go farther in 24 hours than, that's it. So
what's it?
Oh gosh, my head. Oh God, you're really making my brain hurt. All right. So in 24 hours, if you flew backward around the Earth, in 24 hours, you will have traveled a longer distance than, the circumference of the equator. Like if you set out to, I really don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain it.
So what about Superman flying so fast that the Earth rotates backwards and actually goes back in time? Would everything go back in time, or would everyone just die? because the Earth stopped rotating for a second, went
Okay.
the other way, and they just like.
That's a problem. Now, if you can change the actual rotational speed of the
Because
Earth,
that's what you see in the comics or the cartoons, like Superman or someone going fast enough to like rewind time.
yes, but the Earth rotating is why we have gravity. Let's not forget that. If the Earth stopped rotating, we would no longer have, well, we'd have gravity from the sun would be dominant force. It would not be gravity from the Earth. It would be gravity from the sun. So we would all start to get pulled toward the sun.
Okay, yeah.
Or so we would orbit the sun. We would be orbiting the sun is what we would do if the Earth stopped rotating.
So if we wouldn't go back in time, we'd all just die a horrible, burning, fiery death.
It would be awful.
Now, if the Earth was flat, no, we're not going down that rabbit trail, I don't think, today.
Well, if you want to talk about the Earth rotating if it was flat, are you talking about it rotating like a record or like a coin flip?
I know, right? Exactly. I don't think we would survive either.
This is going to make a big difference. Oh, wow.
So a lighter topic, a less mentally tight.
Wow. Oh, hang on.
We'll do here's a palate cleanser time question, okay? Palate cleansing time.
All right, palate cleanser. Good idea.
Best time travel movie or TV show. It depends, I guess.
I mean, obviously, the most popular, most common one's going to be Back to the Future. But let me think. If it was going to be Back to the Future, it would have to be the original.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. The newest one, in my opinion, that I like the best is Avengers Endgame.
Actually. Hot Tub Time Machine?
So the funny thing is that actually exists in the Marvel Universe because it's referenced in Avengers Endgame as a time travel movie. So therefore it has to exist in the Marvel Universe.
Okay. Langoliers.
I'm sorry?
Langoliers. The Langoliers. Are you familiar with that movie?
I don't think I am.
Oh, that is.
When was this from?
90s? It is an incredibly amazing, like, it's about a commercial airliner that flew through some rift in time and space and landed at an airport after time had already passed.
Similar to our example earlier.
Yes. However, come to find out that once time has passed, according to the movie, there are these otherworldly monsters that come from hell or something and actually devour the landscape of the past so that it goes away for eternity.
Please put a link to that movie or the IMDb, at least in the comments.
That's a great idea. Link below.
Please.
Look it up.
So so mine would definitely be the Avengers Endgame, where Tony Stark just perhaps as fast as anyone possibly could solves time travel in his own little world. And then I like that they interact with themselves in the past, unlike most movies where they say if that happens, then you pretty much mess with the time-space continuum. If you could go back into the past and experience something or change something, would you?
Ooh.
That's more of a philosophy.
Hang on. Let's qualify this. If you knew that wherever you were going and whatever you were doing wasn't going to interfere with the present.
Okay. Like it was a separate time stream.
Like you could jump into a parallel universe and then not have to worry about messing up your current universe.
But you could go back to the current universe if you really wanted to.
Well, yeah, you'd have to jump universes in order to jump time.
Yeah.
I would only want to be there for a moment. Just so I could see the craziness for myself. But like, as long as I had my time machine with me and I could jump back in there really fast and get out of Dodge if I needed to, I would love to go back, or I would be, I would be curious to go to early medieval days, like the 1100, 1000 AD 1000, AD 1100 type time frame.
Okay.
And just experience to see, like, because I see like heathenism and stuff like that portrayed in movies and books, and I look like there's no way. Like, what is a society like with no moral compass? Like, is
It's
it
like Walmart
really?
with toilet paper.
Oh, God. All right, I'm gonna clip that and use that as for like a best of year-end thing. Like, what is a society with no morals? Like Walmart when there's toilet paper. What about you?
I don't know. I think it would be interesting to travel back and see things. I don't know. I would have a hard time, like, just not trying to mess with stuff, like buying Zoom stock 3 weeks ago, you know, or Apple stock, however many. Everyone always uses Apple as an example, but like, investing in Sherman.
I'm really kind of ashamed that like my brain didn't immediately go there. Like, oh, how could I make money?
And that's the problem, You're thinking how I can make my life easier today.
I mean, you've been working in the banking industry for how long?
Yeah, I see the financial world every day, so nothing really surprises me a lot because it's very like this cyclical everything.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing with time travel, right? No one really talks about location travel. Like, like if you just travel back to like where you are today in that time, nothing might be happening for thousands of miles.
Well, from a practical standpoint, well, you bring that up. That's a good point, and you're making me think now. From a practical standpoint, I would like to go to this exact latitude and longitude maybe 8 years ago when they were building my house, so I can figure out how the crap they built this house, because it's full of so many bass-ackwards little fun little tricks and hidden secrets whenever I try to fix something. I'd go back to the time when this house didn't have sheetrock on the walls, and I could look and see how they wired and plumbed this stupid thing.
You can offer to help or something.
Yeah. Hey, let me give you a tip. Why don't you move that wall about 2 foot this way so I don't have to do it in a decade? God.
See, that's the practical stuff that people like you would use time travel for.
Hey, I know that there's a 30-foot setback off the road, but do you really want to put the house like right on that setback? Maybe move it back a couple feet. So if someone in about a decade, say, I don't know, wants to bump out their garage so they can park a normal sized car in it, how about you leave them that? Do them a solid.
That's funny.
Jeez.
I don't know. So that's the problem. Is like, I'm glad we don't have the option because we would all go back and screw things up too many times.
Yeah.
Like, and everything seems to happen for a reason, even though we don't understand it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have taken out the last couple of years probably of a lot of the crap that I've dealt with, but like it all prepared me for like when this whole thing happened. Like, we were prepared. Everything really was moving on. We did a lot of changes, and all the crappy jobs I've had in the past all led me to the right place to get the job I have now. And so, like, it's one of those things. Like, I think if we had time travel, we would screw things up way too much.
Oh yeah, I mean you're 100% right, because there's so many times, especially now that I work for an educational institution, that I think about my time in university, and I give myself a hard time so much. Like, man, if I could do it all over again, I wish I could have been more disciplined early on in my college career. And then I'm like, well, but it really kind of built me up and made me who I am, though. Like, I learned a lot of really hard lessons that if I didn't learn those lessons, then I would have had to learn them somewhere.
And that's the thing about every one of those movies or shows, they go back and change something and make something else worse. So that's a lesson of Back to the Future. Yeah, unrelated to the topic, time seems to have flown today, Eric. No, no,
No.
try that again.
No.
I was trying to transition here.
Boo. Terrible joke.
It was a terrible joke. Also, if you're watching this, if you have any ideas or comments, please comment below on topics you'd love us to discuss or to avoid, like masks, perhaps, was a hot topic. Please
I have opinions. I have opinions. It's very scary.
Please like and comment and subscribe to this channel. It really will. I'm sure it will make a difference to somebody who runs the algorithms.
Hey, your wife said she learned something last week.
I know. So hopefully someone learned something today.
I'm skeptical.
That's literally half your personality is just skeptical. That's like.
That's why I'm sulfur hexafluoride and you're helium.
I'm helium, and not just because my voice gets higher when I get excited.
Oh no, my voice goes crazy when it gets excited too.
Well, this has been another episode of Down the Rabbit Trail with Brian and Eric. We hope you enjoyed it, or at least tolerated it.
Or watched it. I don't care if you like it or not. You watched it. That's on you. Why are you still here? So where did we start?
Time.
And we ended with time.
But in the middle, we went down many rabbit trails.
Oh, you broke me in the middle, though. I mean, you broke me pretty hard.
The fact that you take this amount of effort to think logically about my nonsensical conversation or topics is exactly why this channel exists.
You can't just pull that pin and throw the grenade. Like I'm a dumb Labrador retriever. It's gonna go get the grenade and run around with it for a little while.
On that note,
yeah, don't blow up your dogs.
We'll talk to you next. We'll see you next time.
Next time. See you next week.